I remember saying, "Oh well, we've had an offer, so we'll sort this out in a few months' time, and everything will be signed." And he was like, "Whoa, no, we're not opening bottles of champagne just yet. We've got due diligence, we've got the share purchase agreement to go through." It was a very good experience. I'm not sure if I'd ever want to do it again because it sucks time. But if I can give any advice to anyone going through this process is,
Let's kind of transition a little bit into selling your agency. Where did you, like, you've been doing it a decade, did you always have visions for selling the agency?
yeah, so I always knew there was going to be a point where it would have felt right to sell the agency, but I always thought it would be maybe 5 times, if not 100 times bigger than what I thought it would be right now. But maybe that was because I was quite naive in my 20s. But as we were coming up to the 10-year mark, I was thinking, we've got a really good business here. Okay, we're not Saatchi, but we don't want to be either. We've got really good retention with our clients. Lufthansa is still a client of ours to this day. And they've been with us for nearly 9 years. And when it came to looking at the right agency to be acquired by, it really came down to how is it going to benefit our clients and our people first. Because, as an agency owner, you're fairly taken care of anyway from a financial perspective. And what I didn't want is a glass ceiling and for my team. But also being so international anyway, we wanted to be part of something bigger, which would provide more opportunities to work with our clients in the States or in the APAC region. So these were things which we looked for. And then cultural alignment. So when I met Julian, Lawrence, Kate, and the wider team up there everywhere, we just really got on from the very beginning. In fact, we actually needed some help in Scandinavia. So there were some great projects to test things on before we even looked at sort of head to terms and offers.
Did they reach out to you or did you reach out to them?
So I actually appointed an M&A advisor. This was, again, another bit of advice from your podcast and some of your guests. I don't know anything about M&A, and I have really bad maths. So I have a very good accountant to help me with that. Although I seem to be very good at writing scopes of work for clients. I seem to be quite good at that one. But I made sure that I researched the right M&A advisor who was the right fit for our size of business as well, because, you can speak to some people and they're just not a good fit. You know that from a client's perspective as well. So we wanted them to be excited by what we had to offer. And they then helped put us in situations like a speed dating environment where, you meet 20, 30 agencies. And actually meeting up there everywhere was the first agency we met and was subsequently the one we ended up being part of in the end. So I think what's really important is that you stick to the principles that you have when you go through this process. We wanted to remain SWC Partnership because we have a good reputation within the industries that we operate in. It's something which we've built over time. And in fact, being part of UP helps enhance the agency. And also with Up There Everywhere, they can lean on a smaller, agile agency to help them out as well.
Surprised you about the whole process of selling an agency?
I would say I really underestimated the time it takes. I was also very fortunate to have direct access to the M&A advisor for Up There Everywhere, who used to be actually their financial director. And I still feel blessed to this day that I was lucky enough and still lucky enough to lean on that person for questions. And I remember saying, "Oh well, we've had an offer, so we'll sort this out in a few months' time, and everything will be signed." And he's like, "Whoa, no, we're not opening bottles of champagne just yet. We've got due diligence, we've got the share purchase agreement to go through." And it was even more complex in our case because we had to do everything in English and in Swedish because the acquiring firm is registered under Swedish law. It was a very good experience. I'm not sure if I'd ever want to do it again, but because it sucks time. But if I can give any advice to anyone going through this process is to do the acquisition or any M&A activities outside of 9 to 5, because it does sort of have a habit of taking control. And if you're not continuing to do new business or keep the culture running of the agency and just making sure things are continually to tick along, then you could potentially have wasted quite a lot of time if it doesn't work out.
Yeah. How many months between the letter of intent or the initial conversation to closing the deal?
I would say it was probably about 8 months. We didn't want to rush it either. We wanted to make sure it was a very fair agreement. Of course, you have to compromise in areas, but you choose your battles. I think that's really important. And from a financial perspective, I didn't set the bar too high. I didn't want our team to be under unnecessary pressure to hit particular targets.
Is there anything you would have changed about the process?
I probably would have done a bit more research in terms of what the process is that for M&A. I reached out to a few people, but I think until you've gone through it, you don't really know what to expect. It's a bit like having kids. Until you have kids, you don't know how much amazing love and joy there is, but also all the shit and challenges which come with that as well. But you wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't change it.
What I see, some people, they go through a long process like you did. And I think the process is designed to be long for the buyer, honestly. And here's why. And I don't think maybe they do it on purpose, but the longer it goes on, the seller goes, man, I've already committed all this time. I've already kind of committed myself mentally to selling the agency. And they're kind of committed to, following out the process. And that can kind of sometimes be scary, because a lot of times a buyer at the last minute will change something, and it could be pretty big. But then you're like, man, I've already put 8 months into this, or 10 months, or a year I've seen, into this process. And they'll be like, I'm just tired. It's kind of like they wore you down, right? Like they just beat you up. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen, or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.